You ever wonder how you can tell whether you're truly recovering from spiritual abuse? My name is Dr. Felucia, and I'm a licensed psychologist. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about some ways that you can determine whether you are moving forward and recovering from the spiritual abuse that you've experienced. The first way that you can tell is the range of your emotions. A lot of times when people have been through spiritual abuse, they talk about how their emotions feel really numbed. And it's not uncommon. Part of the reason why this happens is because in spiritually abusive environments, emotions that are a normal part of the human experience are often shamed and critiqued, especially difficult emotions, things like grief, sadness, anger, anxiety, things like that. And so as you're recovering, you will notice that you are able to be in touch with these feelings more. And not only that, you're not judging yourself for that as much. I have a video on this channel called Spiritual Abuse Shames You for Being Human. So I'd encourage you to watch that video to understand more what I'm talking about. Another sign that you can tell that you are recovering is that you feel more comfortable breaking certain rules that you have either embodied or have heard, right? So there's another video I have on that called Breaking the Rules. It's called Breaking the Rules of the Spiritually Abusive Environment. But anyway, when you are under spiritual abuse, there are lots of arbitrary rules that you find yourself following, and they may not really even be helpful or grounded in any sort of spirituality. There are things that are linked more to outward appearances than your true spirituality. So being told, you can't do this and that, or you have to do this exactly this way, can be not only a rule of a spiritually abusive environment, but when you leave that environment, you feel comfortable breaking such a rule. So, one example that I can think of is perhaps you're not feeling well, and so you can't attend something or you can't participate in something that is a part of your spiritual or religious experience. When you are in abusive environments, you may feel a lot of pressure to push yourself past the point of feeling well just so that you can attend this thing or not break this rule. And that's often a reason why people who are undergoing spiritual abuse may have physical health problems. When you find that you're recovering, are not so focused on arbitrary rules. You're focused more on meaning and you're putting yourself in the equation. So for instance, if there's this thing that you were told you have to go to or you have to do, if you're not feeling well, then you grant yourself that grace to feel better and heal before doing that thing instead of making yourself do it. So that is another example, being able to see through rules and not just follow them blindly, but to do what you need to do in order to care for yourself. Another one that I feel is really important is your relationship with guilt. When you are in a spiritually abusive environment or relationship, a lot of the things you do are motivated by feelings of guilt. And again, this is not something to feel ashamed of. People who engage in spiritual abuse and other types of abusive behaviors are very manipulative and they know what buttons to push. And a big one is guilt. And so if you are in a situation that you are experiencing spiritual abuse, that many things that you will do will be driven by guilt. However, when you're recovering from that, you can recognize the guilt and not react to it. So a lot of times people think, well, their healing journey means that they feel less guilty. For some people, it could be the case. But for me, what I've noticed in my work with other individuals that are going through this process is that they can see the guilt and recognize it, but they don't have to respond to it or react to it in a way to get rid of the guilt. And so as you recover from spiritual abuse, you have a healthier relationship with your feelings. So another, someone could say something and or insinuate that you should be doing or not doing something, and you can feel guilty. The difference is you're not going to have a knee-jerk reaction to that guilt. You can acknowledge that you feel guilty and you're still going to do what you're going to do. So that's a really important thing to pay attention to. Um, Another thing that you'll notice too is that as you are recovering, you are better able to maintain your boundaries. That maintaining your boundaries is a really important part of not only recovering from spiritual abuse, but defending yourself against it. And so, as you first start out in the journey, you have to realize that you're going to be doing things that you probably have not done consistently before. And one of those things is maintaining boundaries. And so you can be in the position where you realize, oh, here's a boundary and I'm sticking to it. Whereas before you might have had a boundary, but then because of guilt or inexperience or whatever, you would like waver on that boundary, right? You would maybe not maintain it consistently. You might doubt yourself for even having that boundary in the first place. Or you might be using boundaries in an incorrect way, specifically to like get a reaction from someone or to control someone else's behavior. And something that I always maintain is boundaries are not for other people, they're for ourselves. So they are to protect ourselves and to maintain our autonomy, not influence what other people do. So you'll notice that as time goes on and you're recovering, you will do better with those boundaries. And then another one too is, you explain yourself less to people. A lot of times when people are in spiritually abusive environments, they feel that whatever they do, they have to have an explanation for it, but they have to justify what they do. So if they're not going to, if they turn down something or they disagree with something, they have to explain and explain and explain themselves. And it's understandable, in these environments, you're not emotionally safe. And so explaining yourself and explaining why you do what you do is an understandable way of protecting yourself. However, as you recover, you realize that that's not necessary. And in fact, it can make things worse because manipulative people will hold on to that and then try to argue all those points and wear you down emotionally. So when you do that, as you're recovering, you just explain yourself less to people, right? And that is that's a very important skill to have. You can somebody could say something about you that you don't agree with, or say you should do something you don't agree with, and you can just simply state your opinion or your action point and move on instead of having to feel this constant need to defend yourself. So these are some ways that you can tell that you are recovering from spiritual abuse. I'd love to hear from you all as well, as you are progressing along in your spiritual abuse recovery journey. What are some indicators for you that you are making progress? And I just want to remind you too that progress is not linear. With anything, there are going to be highs and lows. You might find yourself doing really well and then maybe experiencing a setback, or even, maybe experiencing spiritual abuse again. And that can be, devastating, very upsetting. But at the same time, it's the progress that you want to be concerned about. It's not going to be a straight line all the way. There are going to be ups and downs, but the important thing is, that you need to keep going. So I just encourage you to do that. I'd love to hear from you in the comment section. If you'd like to book a free consultation, you can go to my website, skillsetcounseling.com, click on the orange button, and it will allow you to book a free consultation. If for some reason you don't hear back from me, email me directly, and my email is in the description box. So, go ahead and do that. And I'd love to, again, to hear from you in the comment section. What are some of the things that you have helped you know that you are recovering? All right. I hope you have a wonderful day that is filled with peace. Bye-bye.